This afternoon's hobby enhancement is muscat. I've been putting off this lot due to how annoying the other bunch of corsairs was to paint. More of the bloody nooks and crannies. Turns out the cloaks just sort of compound the issue of nooks and crannies. But I want to finish this army and get on to the next one, so I decided to break the back of the remaining job and just smash out all 29 remaining corsairs all at once. To break up the job, I threw in the assassin, and just to get the monotony at bay really. And then I threw in Miss Snaky Features over here because the monotony was still getting just a little bit excessive. To be fair, painting all of this lot went a lot more smoothly than the first 25 or so I painted in the first batch. Pretty much got them sussed now, and it gets a lot quicker once you actually know where you're going to be sticking the brush to work around all the nooks and crannies over time. That said, I think the 54 or so that I've done so far will be enough. Corsairs, there's always going to be a lot of them in this army because, well, the general idea of the army theme is that aside from being what I've managed to collect secondhand, the whole force is supposed to be a corsair naval raiding force with friends. So, notwithstanding that I do like the corsair miniatures, and apparently so does everybody else, given that they're one of the few that made the cut into the starter box for the Age of Sigmar malarkey. It's the army theme. I think you always have to have an army theme, otherwise you end up with a hodgepodge. And a hodgepodge just doesn't look right on the table. So, hence the lack of city troops, spearmen, swords, executioners, those dudes with halberds, whatever they're called. We stuck to this shape of army instead. I did have lots of lovely executioners and halberd minis, but metal ones too. But I sold those on in order to stay true to the army theme. Otherwise, I could have kept this army going indefinitely. I think it's weighing in at about $5.5 grand already. I could have ended up with 10,000 points worth of stuff in the end, and I don't know what the hell I'd do with it all. There's just too many other factions that are worth having a crack at, and the other army's been collected and sitting around for a year already without me painting it, waiting for me to finish off the Dark Elves. I have a pile more Witch Elves as well, also in metal. There's really old ones too, but 25 is enough, and 40 would be great. 50 would be even better. It would probably result in losing friends and not being invited to people's houses, but I figure 25 is enough, and I've painted enough Witch Elves to keep me happy. So the paint job on these guys, much the same as last time. Just give you a bit of a look around. Same painting techniques, just a bit faster. These ones all have hand bows. Probably use them for war machine protection or just for being a nuisance. The main batch of the 2-hand weapon option as usual. And then there's the assassin. I did the assassin the same way as usual as well. Zoom in on this fella for you. Just the way he's posed, I couldn't help but give him a scorpion look. I actually planned on 3 assassins for this army. I figured 3 is enough, and I'd sold the other 3 or so that I had lying around. Then when I was rummaging around the bottom of the box, I found this fella. Sneaky Git was still hiding in the remaining bits pile. So now I have 4 assassins. And that brings us to the Medusa miniature. Try and get her in a single shot there. Now the Medusa I thought was, it's just a bit of an oddity really. I thought I'd paint it up at some point. It's entertaining, but it's not something I treat seriously. It looks a bit like a Lord, but with move 7 and on a big base. In fact, it's probably a bit slow for a Lord, it's initiative 5. I think 3 or 4 wounds, thereabouts, 3 attacks. But then when I was painting it, I had a look at the stats. And this thing is a character assassin, war machine killer, steam tank fucker-upper, giant killer, pretty much anything human size, because it's got killing blow as a melee weapon, as a ballistic weapon, and anything with low initiative. Either of those will cop it badly from this thing. So at 90 points, it's likely to be a much hated regular feature of the new army. I think everything on the table is going to try and kill it outright, just out of a sheer sense of indignation, if nothing else. I certainly would. The paint job in this thing was, you might say, efficient. I just knocked it off in between going through the rank and file. I did the red hair because there's too much blue on it already. Thought blue snakes might be a bit much, and the red sort of balances out the blood on the rest of the body and matches the hair that I've done on, where's a good one? Here's a good one. The hair that I've done on a few of the corsairs. Really simple, base coat, black wash. So yeah, the paint job was efficient. It kind of speaks to the whole painting approach. My entire outlook on painting has changed over the last couple of years as I've pumped out this army, which being second hand was never really intended to be done to a high fidelity in the paint job. And I've found that I quite like painting to a decent standard, but without going overboard. I actually enjoy it more now. I get more miniatures done, and means I can have more projects on the go and get things completed. Because I've got several other projects going on at the moment. So I've become one of those people who just paints to have a nice enough army on the table instead of painting to try and emulate something that you'd see in a magazine, which I think I've probably said in several of these videos now. But what I'm finding is that as long as I do it neatly, and as long as I use a limited palette, and if you choose your colours carefully for overall army theme, and you don't, go outside the lines too much, then the use of a good wash and the contours of the mini do an awful lot of the heavy lifting for me. I mean, even if we just take this critter here, I'll zoom in again. Look at that hand there. I'm not sure how much it comes out under this lighting with this camera, but also with the staff, and as you can see on the banners and other bits and pieces. It's simple painting. It's nothing like what you see on the Games Workshop YouTube channel, for example. But it looks fine. It looks fine on the tabletop. I think people talk about Blanche Itsu and his painting and his 2D art credentials, and I reckon he's onto something. A limited palette brings out the theme of what you're doing a lot more than a hyper detailed miniature sometimes can. And the way I see it, life is short. Now that I'm middle-aged and got about as much ahead of it as I look behind. And, when you paint an army really well, you get about 30 seconds of somebody going, "Oh, that's nice," when you shove it in their face and make them look at it properly and give you compliments. But then nobody gives you shit. And they're too busy playing with their own miniatures and trying to figure out how to get as many of yours off the table as they possibly can. So, if I've done like 4 layers on a witch elf's eyebrows, nobody's going to notice. what people do notice is the whole of army cohesion when you got 2,000 to 3,000 points worth of units deployed ready for battle. And that's a different skill set. That's all in the choosing your colours up front, figuring out your colour matching, how that individual miniature you've painted, well, you know, as well as you can, is going to look when it's next to 100 or so other miniatures. And will you ever actually finish a damn thing so your whole army on the table are actually painted? It's all well and good having a couple of painted units, but the other half a dozen units are not painted. You really don't have an impressive army theme, you know, that whole, oh, I don't know, call it suspension of disbelief, moving art, performance art, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. You lose that if some of your units are painted and some of them aren't. I say this having played a lot of games of Team Yankee with half-painted armies. But I'm proud to say that every single game I've played with this Dark Elf army has only been with the miniatures I've actually painted. So that's that for this batch. I'm happy to say I'm through the worst of it. I've got another 3,000 points worth of Zinch sitting around somewhere that I've got to get to work on soon. So next up, I've got 2 chariots and a general on a dragon. And I figure I'm actually going to do all of those more or less all at once, just to smash it out. No idea how long it takes. One of those things where you say, oh, it's just 3 models, I'll get them done, no worries. But we all know that's not the truth. Especially when you look at how many nooks and crannies are in the Dark Elf mono-wheeled chariot. I was having a look at that earlier today thinking, how the fucking hell am I going to get my brush in there to paint that fucking wheel? Because the thing came assembled. That's what happens when you buy them second hand. So there'll probably be some swearing and about 30 bucks worth of destroyed brushes by the time I finish that one. Anyway, hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later when I get back to you with that video. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, comment, all that guff. Tell me what you think of painting. I mean, do you go the whole 9 yards when you do yours? I mean, when I did my Wood Elves, what I did a base colour, a wash specific to that colour, worked it up for the base colour again, did a highlight colour, and then picked up the edge highlighting again with another colour. And I did that across God knows how many cloaks and boots and feathered arrows sticking out of, well, you get a general idea. So anyway, do make a comment, helps the algorithm along, helps share this with other people who like to talk shit about their minis. But for now, I think it's time to call it a day.